This is The Professionals, a podcast by music business technology and broadcast media technology students on Outcast OCCR Owens Community College Radio. In this series, students will interview industry professionals in their respective fields to help gather an idea of what it's like to work in their industry.
My name is Hailey Creps. I'm joined by radio personality Jeffrey T. Mason. So Jeffrey, what is your profession and where do you work?
I work for iHeartMedia, and I'm professionally to be a DJ, radio DJ, and I'm on about 50 stations across the country. I do 6 shows a day, which are streamed on the iHeart app on different music formats, and then radio stations around the country can pick those shows up and actually air them, which is why I'm on the air in Ohio, which is how you discovered me.
Yes. So, what are your responsibilities as a radio DJ?
As just a DJ, basically what I do now is just come up with what to do on the show each day. I have a playlist. I don't choose the music, and that's pretty much how it goes at most radio stations. There's always a program director and a music director who take care of that stuff. So, I come in, I've got a list of songs that I'm playing. I know when I'm talking. I have things to promote on the show, whether it's a free money contest or a concert or a giveaway or something like that we're doing. So I have a bunch of things that I need to put into the show, but it's my responsibility to find a way to do that, make it interesting, kind of infuse news and just stuff to be entertaining and informative, and then I kind of pick how to weave around the music with that.
Yeah, so you said that you play mostly a playlist and you don't pick the music, but was there ever a show that you've done where you do pick the music and basically customize it for yourself?
I have. Actually, I have an internet station now called Jeffro Radio, which is completely my music selection, and it just kind of shows my wacky taste in music, which is pretty broad. From way back in the day to now. But early in my career, one of the first radio stations I worked at was a little AM station in Reading, Pennsylvania, and then there we could. It wasn't that we could play whatever we wanted, but we would go back into the music library and we could choose from what's there. There were hundreds of songs in there, and then it was up to us to pick them and play them in whatever order we wanted. So I did that early on, and I've had a couple opportunities through the years to do my own music shows, which is always fun. But the app now, Jeffro Radio, is my music taste. So I still get a place to do that.
So with that, what would you say some prior experiences are that you have from before you entered the industry?
Say again, I'm sorry?
What prior experiences do you have before entering the industry that helped you get into the industry?
What did I do before I got into radio?
Yes.
Well, I got in very early, so not much. My first paying job, I was 15, and that was in radio. I mean, before that, what I was doing was, setting up chairs for bingo at school or something like that. But I started working in the business when I was 15. I was very lucky that the program director gave me the time of day, because a lot wouldn't for a 15-year-old kid with zero radio experience. The only thing I had done before that, radio-wise, was making tapes in my bedroom. I would record music off the radio and cut out the DJs and stuff, and then I would go in and try to talk over and do my own little show on like my boombox in my bedroom. And I was lucky that I guess one of those tapes which I played for the guy was half decent, and he heard a little promise. So that's how I got my first shot.
So, what challenges have you overcome in your career thus far?
The business has changed so much. I got in 1990, or last century, as people would say now, and it was a different business in 1990. That was before what happened in the late 90s, deregulation, where when I got in, a company could only own up to 2 stations in a city. So you would go to work at a station, usually be like an AM and an FM station, and that was it. Or maybe a TV station. They might have a TV station too. But because of that, there were so many different companies in every city, and it was a lot easier to find a job. And then in the late 90s, that changed where companies could own a ton of radio stations. I mean, the biggest one is where I work for now, iHeart. They own stations everywhere, and you can own up to like 7 or 8 in any town. So that it took away a lot of opportunity when that happened, because you couldn't go from one company to the next. If you got let go from one radio station, you pretty much got let go from 8 at that point. So it's a little harder to find work, and that's been a challenge here and there. And it's not the most stable of industries, but you get through it. I've had some periods of unemployment where I had to kind of push through and tighten the wallet a bit and not spend as much money, but eventually get back in. I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing now, because a lot of people in the industry have lost their jobs, and I'm still going somehow.
So what do you enjoy most about being a radio DJ?
It's fun. What can you not enjoy about it? I mean, it's a little different what I'm doing now, because what I used to do and the way it used to be was you'd be in the radio station and you would be doing your shows completely live. So you would be on the air, and then generally just at one radio station. And, you would be there interacting with people on the phone, which I've always loved. I like to put people on the air. I like to talk about what's going on in my town. That's a little different for me now, because I can't possibly do 50 radio stations in real time. I'm doing 6 shows every day. I can't possibly do those all simultaneously, so they're pre-recorded. And I work from home. I've been working from home since even before the pandemic. Before it was a cool thing to work from home, and it's a little different. There's no one calling me on the phone here in my studio, and because my shows go out to different places, I can't be too local and specific. I have to do more national kind of stuff. So that's a bit of a challenge, but it's still fun. I get to be silly. I get to be myself. I get to listen to music, and somehow I get paid for it. I don't know how that works, but they keep doing it.
So are there any perks to being a radio DJ or working for iHeart also?
In what I do now, the perks really are a little different. I mean, again, back in the day when you were working at one radio station, you were in-house, there were things. You get to go to concerts sometimes, depending on what format you were working. You get some concert tickets here and there. Events were always fun. You get to, sometimes interview famous people. That was neat. You get to meet some people occasionally. Well, it didn't happen all the time, but it would. That was a cool perk. It was neat being quasi-celebrity, not famous, but enough that certain people know who you are, and that made you feel good. There's certainly perks. I think the perk now is just so that I'm 33 years after I started doing this, that someone still lets me do it. That's a huge perk.
So how did you find out about the position that you currently have?
Well, I had been working at a radio station in Chicago, which is where I live, for a number of years, and the company was for CBS, which obviously you've heard of. They sold all their radio stations it's been 6 years now, and they sold all their radio stations to another company, which at the time was called Entercom. Now it's called Odyssey. But some stations they bought and didn't make any changes. Mine in Chicago, they decided to make a change the minute they took over, so they fired everybody. And I was out of work for a little while. I ended up about a year later going to work in another station in Chicago, just part-time, a country station, and it was owned by iHeart. And after doing that for a while, I was approached by somebody in upper management who asked if I wanted to do what I'm doing now, and that's what we call iHeart Custom, where you put these shows together for a bunch of stations around the country. And so I've been doing this specific job for a little over 4 years now.
So what do you do to prepare for a show?
I scour the internet, basically. Every morning I come in here into my little home studio and look up things. There are some websites that provide services for DJs, so they kind of compile a bunch of things that they think you might be interested in. But I'll go through that. I'll just do Google News searches and look up artist information. I know who I'm going to play on the show, so I look up to see if there's anything new with them, and just try to spend about takes me longer to do that than it does to do the actual shows. Actually, I was in the process of doing that before we got on the phone today. I spend a few hours on that every day, and then the next phase is to actually do the shows.
And you said that you have to do promotions, and how do you get those promotions, or how do you figure out what ones you have to do?
Well, that's provided to me by management. So, I go into my little portal on the website, and then it tells me exactly, okay, you got to talk about the $1,000 contest every hour on your show. You got to talk about the iHeartRadio Music Festival once per show, things like that. And it has the information there for me. And it's just up to me to reword it, make it my own.
So as a student, I'm curious if you would recommend any classes or something similar that I would take to be best prepared for a job in the industry.
I'm kind of the wrong guy to ask that because I went to college for all of 2 weeks. I had been working at a radio station. I told you earlier that I was working at a station that let me pick my own music when I was young. That was a little AM station in Pennsylvania, and I did that while I was in high school. And when I graduated high school, my plan was to continue doing radio, but the station I worked at decided to let me go. So I had to make a new plan pretty quickly. So then I'd gone to Penn State, which I had already applied for, but I didn't know if I was going to go or not. And so I went to Penn State for a couple of weeks, and then I got a full-time job offer like 2 weeks in. And I said, well, okay, I got to take it because that's what I've been doing for, at that point, 2-3 years. So I don't really know what courses. I'll tell you that I've made a success of myself without any course, just living life. But I know there are communications courses and things like that. It certainly couldn't hurt. But, I think it's more important to have a personality and an interest in what's going on in the world.
So I guess if kind of on that note, are there any activities or other things that we can do to get involved outside of school that would help prepare us?
I think you just live your life and try to be social and talk to people and hone your communication skills that way. Just to be able to hold conversations and pay attention to pop culture and things like that. There was. I guess there still are internships at radio stations. I don't know how much that exists because, again, I'm in a weird place where for the last 4.5 years I've been working from home. So I'm not really at these radio stations where I'm on. It's kind of odd, a little disconnected. But, when I did work at radio stations, there were always internships. And usually you had to be going for a college credit. To get those internships. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be just if you were interested, you could come in and do that. But, listening to the radio, hearing what's going on, and just being in the know with things so that if you decide to get on my side of what we do, which is the on-air side, that you don't sound too stiff, you don't sound too nervous, things like that. Just try to loosen up. Have some fun. That's what I do. I mean, everyone's stiff when they get into the business in the beginning, nervous. I was too. I sound way different now than I did when I first started, but now I just kind of go and be silly every day. And that's, I think the goal is just to make it you.
What advice, if you could tell yourself something, before you got into the industry, what would you tell yourself?
You don't know everything. Don't think you know everything. You don't know everything. You're not that bright. You've been in the business long enough. Because I think, most people when they're young, think they know better than a lot of people and are pretty headstrong about things. And I think, I mouthed off to probably too many people when I shouldn't have and didn't shut up and learn when I should have. And fortunately it's worked out okay for me, but there was a bit of a reputation early on that I was difficult to work with. And it's probably true. I don't think it's true anymore, but I've grown up a lot, as hopefully everybody does. But just listen and learn, really. Don't don't walk into any, and I guess that goes with any walk of life, don't go into any situation thinking you've got the answer and they don't.
So what would you say your future plans and goals are professionally, and how do you see yourself achieving those?
At this point, the industry is so different than it was when I got in. Every day I'm still trying to figure it out and fit in and do things the right way, and not knowing what the right way is necessarily anymore. But I'm fortunate that I have a good relationship with my bosses at iHeart. They seem to like what I do. In fact, I think in the next couple of days, we're going to talk about getting on some more radio stations, getting me on different stations that I'm not on currently. So I guess I'm doing it right if they want to put me on more stations. So yeah, I just want to ride this out and hopefully keep getting ratings and revenue for the company, because those are the two things that they're always interested in. It's always the goal. But yeah, I'm pretty okay with what I'm doing.
Well, I would like to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today and share your experience in the industry.
Absolutely.
I'd also like to thank my audio engineer, Russell Gronbach, for engineering this podcast. Again, my name is Hailey Creps, and I've been speaking with Jeffrey T. Mason, a radio DJ.
This has been the Professionals Podcast by Music Business Technology and Broadcast Media Technology students. Join us next time on Outcast OCCR, Owens Community College Radio.